Today's social media sites have become repositories for a vast number of historical images. One of the most popular pages for South Dakota history is called South Dakota History of Cities, Towns, Places, and People Who Made It Great. It was started by David Franzen, a veteran, a lawyer, and now, by popular consensus at least, an historian. His interest in the past started when he was in his teens.
Looking at my grandmother and not knowing who she is, and as far as how did she get here, what's her background, and that's kind of where it all started.
Franzen saved and studied family photographs and asked a lot of questions of his relatives, but he wasn't deeply into history until an uncle passed away, leaving behind some items of historical interest, including thousands of photographs.
And when he died, the rest of the family delivered all of that stuff to me.
He began scanning the prints and storing the digitized images on computer hard drives. He focused first on the family pictures and worked at getting the stories behind the pictures from elder relatives. But the deeper he got into the collection, the more he began to realize what he had.
Photographs that I quickly decided had more of a statewide history interest rather than just a family history interest. And I wasn't sure, I hated to just put them back in the box and put them on a shelf. I knew that they would be of interest to somebody. And so what I did was I set up a Facebook page, a Facebook group, without any particular goals in mind, other than just to keep those particular photographs for now until I decided what we needed to do with them.
The group grew quickly.
In the last 15 months, it's grown from 400 to 19,000. And so there is a big interest in South Dakota history.
Franzen's Facebook posts are no longer limited to just the pictures in his own collection. He reposts pictures from a variety of sources, as do other group members. People routinely post images about which they know very little, hoping other group members will recognize a person or place and restore the lost history.
It doesn't take much work. It manages itself just because it's made up of people who have such an intense history interest in local history.
Some of Franzen's posts tell stories that span decades. This picture shows a homesteader relative building a round barn in Potter County in the 1920s.
And he started building that barn one summer, and they finished it in one summer. But they set up this barn, and they used it for everything. They had a hog operation that ran out of this barn. They had a beef cattle operation that ran out of this big round barn. Everything to try to make a dollar to stay in business and stay alive. And it's still sitting there.
Several of David Franzen's family stories show how personal local history can be. His maternal grandmother was born to homesteaders living in Forest City. The Cheyenne River Agency was located directly across the river. People went back and forth across the river by boat and later by ferry.
My great-grandmother, one of the things that she did, she was a midwife and delivered a lot of babies on both sides of the river, in the Forest City area and also in the Native American community on the Cheyenne River Reservation.
David Franzen has a lot of photos from his hometown of Gettysburg. Like most rural South Dakota towns, Gettysburg has changed.
Just to go through 40 or 50 or 60 or 80 years of photographs and see how this community was built and what they were busy doing in 1910 versus what they were busy doing in 1980. It's interesting to look at the main street that they had to deal with, that you know that they were there on those sidewalks every Saturday afternoon, whether it was in DeSmet, South Dakota, or Gettysburg, South Dakota. And there's a blacksmith shop there that served everybody, including my ancestors and everybody else who lived there.
People in Fransen's Facebook page share similar interests but don't always share similar views, especially regarding the massacre at Wounded Knee. Fransen and a co-moderator will intervene in any online conversation that strays too far from civility, but they welcome an exchange of perspectives.
What we wanted to make sure happened is that, using Wounded Knee as an example, that people know about it and our young people know about it.
Fransen's Facebook group is one of several devoted to state history. A lot of people communicate and share in multiple groups. David Franzen admits that the online community can be entertaining, but he has a higher purpose in mind.
There's things about our past that we need to know, and it's not always pleasant. We have to know how we got here in order to know where we as a society and even our individual families are going from here. We have to know where we've been. We have to know the road that we traveled to get here.